Hey, welcome back. This will be Genesis 31. We'll read through it, talk about it a little bit, see where we go. Father God, thank you for this time. Thank you for having a plan. Thank you for knowing what everybody needs. Thank you for being the standard, immovable, undeniable, by which all the universe is measured. Thank you for being constant. Like the life raft that is always there, the shelter that's always there in the storm. A Father that has his hand out. It's always in the same place when we get lost. That's a lot of weight. And you carry it proudly. Lord, I just ask that wherever we go with this reading, you take us where you want us to go. Show us the things you want us to know. Point your finger on the things you want us to look at. Holy Spirit, you're always welcome here. You're invited. You lead the way. And we'll follow you. All this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so Genesis 31, reading and commentary. So if you remember Genesis 30, wrapping it up, Jacob's like, hey, I'm tired of working for you, Laban. I've worked 7 years each for the two brides. So tell you what, you don't have to pay me any more wages. Give me my two brides and then all my kids, and we'll go. I'm gonna go off, but let me go through the sheep and let me go through the flock, and I'll take all the animals with blemishes, and then you can have all the ones that are clean. But then Jacob does a little trick so that the ones with blemishes reproduce more often. So then that way Jacob leaves with like the majority of the flock, because most of them are blemished anyway. Okay. And that's where we pick up now. Verse 1. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what was our father's he has acquired all this wealth. And Jacob saw the countenance of Laban, and indeed it was not favorable toward him as before. Yeah, that kind of tends to happen when you deceive somebody, and then they figure it out. 3. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you. Okay. Now, so Jacob got the better of Laban, okay? And it showed right here. Like, basically, let's say Jacob took, let's be conservative because I don't think it says how many. Let's say Jacob took 7 out of every 10 individual animals. So 3 of them were left behind. 7 of them out of the 10 went with Jacob, okay? So let's say twice as many, okay? So he got 2/3 of it. This may not have happened if Laban would not have dealt deceitfully with Jacob to begin with. Because you remember, the deal was for Jacob to work 7 years for Rachel. But Laban's like, no, you got to take my oldest daughter, Leah, first. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be in good standing or in good custom should you take my younger, more beautiful daughter before my older one. So these 7 years technically were for my younger, or for my older daughter. And I just hear the words of Darth Vader. I'm altering the deal. Okay? So Laban dealt deceitfully. And this is why don't do vengeance on your own. Okay, what's popular in the news right now is 50 Cent and his documentary going after P. Diddy, Sean Combs. That's all well and good, whatever. For God's people, it's really hard. You don't want to worry about getting even. You don't want to worry about vengeance. You don't want to worry about revenge. I mean, worry about it if you have to, if that makes you feel better, but don't do anything. Because God knows what's coming. And God knows that people who deal deceitfully with his children is just like them dealing deceitfully with him. So when he brings judgment, it's going to be final. And there's not really going to be a way to get around it. If you and I were to deal with revenge and do revenge, not only are we going to up the score because we're dealing emotionally and not just rationally, but there's going to be an opportunity for that other person to counter. So they started it, we hit back, and then they're going to hit us back again. And we're just going to do this pendulum thing, both of us digging a pit and a hole for each other or for ourselves. And this is much easier said than done. Don't seek revenge. Don't deal deceitfully with people. God's people do not deal deceitfully with anybody. God's people deal with people straight. They're transparent and they deal straight and honest with others, even worldly people. Because God holds himself to that standard. What would it be like if God dealt deceitfully with you? If God promised you a kingdom in heaven, it's like, oh, well, technically, you did this thing when you were younger, so I changed my mind. You're not getting in. Like the whole reason that we can even trust God in the first place is because he's a man of his word, not a woman of his word, a man of his word. And he does what he said he's going to do. Now, we will screw that up by being knuckleheads and getting in the way or thinking that we can push it along a little farther. And all we really do is mess the whole thing up because God deals slow. He walks slow. It says in the New Testament, line by line, precept upon precept. Okay? God builds slow. So wait for him. Don't deal deceitfully. Be better. That's why we call it taking the higher road whenever somebody deals with you in a cross manner and you don't clap back. That's why we call it taking the higher road. It's because God's people take the higher road. Yes, maybe it makes you look like a punk, maybe it makes you look like a chump. But there will come a time where God has ordained for you to even the score. In his time, he will do it. The hard part is waiting and pushing away your urges to clap back. That's the hard part, okay? 4. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field, to his flock, and said to them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not favorable toward me as before. But the God of my father has been with me. And you know that with all my might I have served your father. Yet your father has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not allow him to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckled sheep be your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And if he said thus, the streaked shall be your wages, then all the flocks bore streaked. So God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. Okay. This is what we're talking about right here. Whatever, oh man. And honestly, I don't know who you are watching this. I don't know. This is I'm recording this right before Christmas 2025. So I don't know who's on the other end of this, if there is anyone at all. When the world takes something away from you, when the world hits you and knocks you to your knees, or maybe it hits you so hard that you're flat on your face and you're struggling to catch your breath. Maybe the world clips you in the back. Maybe the world takes your knees out so you're like crippled and laying on your side. You don't even feel like you can get up and walk anymore. The world will give you a cheap shot. Okay, that's what the world is do. That's what the world does. When that happens, a real child of the Most High God knows that it's going to be returned and then some. It may not be returned tenfold. It might be returned twice as much. It might be returned 100-fold. It might be returned 1.5. It might be returned 1. Okay? But God is going to give back what was taken away. He's watching all things. He's watching. Right? He's using you to show these worldly people what it's like to be his child, and he's giving them an opportunity to come to him just like you did. So if you clap back in revenge because they are being worldly like you once were, all you're really doing is showing you're not any different. Well, if you're not any different, then why would we believe on this God that you say that you follow and you love so much when you act just like us, heathens? Why would we do that? That's stupid. You have to be different, set apart. That's what we call holy, okay? You have to be different. You have to. You have to try. You can't serve the God that we serve and be just like the worldly people. Okay, it says that, John says that in 1 John. You can't say, I love God, and then hate your brother or your sister. That's anti-God. You can't say, I love God, and I love the world. You can't do both. You can't. Jesus says that in the gospel. Either you hate the one, or you love the one and hate the other. Or you love one and then despise the other. You can't serve God and mammon, worldly things, okay? So it's very important that, it's very important that worldly people, the lost, see you get knocked off the horse and then see how you get back up. That's very important. Because that's what gives them hope. 10. And it happened at the time when the flocks conceived that I lifted my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the flocks were streaked, speckled, and gray spotted. Let's go back here, where Jacob said, if Laban said, if he said thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And if he said thus, the streaks shall be your wages, then all the flocks will be bore streaked. Okay, what Jacob is saying is, whatever deal we made, or whatever deal I made with your father Laban, God was going to honor me through that over him because of Laban's deceitfulness. If the flocks were supposed to come out tie-dyed, if Laban would have said, you can have all the tie-dyed ones, then the flocks would have been tie-dyed. You can have all the ones that have tiger stripes, then the flocks would have had tiger stripes. You can have all the fluorescent solid colored ones, then the flocks would have been fluorescent solid colored ones, okay? That's what Jacob is saying here. It doesn't matter what Laban says, because he dealt deceitfully and God is with me, I'm going to win. There's nothing you can do about it. That's what Jacob was saying there, okay? And as a child of God, you have that same power following you everywhere you go. 11. Then an angel of God spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. He said, Lift your eyes now and see. All the rams which leap on the flocks are streaked, speckled, and gray spotted. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now arise, go out of this land, and return to the land of your family. Where you anointed the pillar and where you made a vow to me. That was more than 14 years ago. And this angel of the Lord, God, is saying, hey, I saw that and I remembered it. You want to be careful what you say to the Lord because he remembers. Just because he doesn't bring things to your mind doesn't mean he forgot. And I'll go one farther for you. Just because he doesn't remind you of something that you said to him doesn't mean that something that you said to him didn't hurt his heart. Man, I feel that one. It might very well be that you've said some things that hurt the heart of the Lord, and he just is not, he's not responding to you out of kindness. Because if he did, you might not handle it. You might not make it through. All right. 14. Then Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there still any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not considered strangers by him? For he has sold us and also completely consumed our money. For all these riches which God has taken from our father are really ours and our children's. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do it. So they're basically like, what difference does it make? He took everything from us too, and now we don't have anything left, and you're the only one that has everything. What choice do we have? Whatever you're going to do, go ahead and do it. Then Jacob rose and set his sons and his wives on camels, and he carried away all of his livestock and all his possessions which he had gained, his acquired livestock which he had gained in Paddan Aram, and to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the household idols that were her father's. And Jacob stole away, unknown to Laban the Syrian, in that he did not tell him when he intended to flee. So he fled with all that he had. He arose, crossed the river, and headed towards the mountains of Gilead. All right, so Jacob takes off, and he doesn't tell Laban what's going on. And now they're going back to the land of Canaan, okay? The Holy Land. 22. And Laban was told on the third day that Jacob had fled. When he took his brethren with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey, he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. Okay. So Jacob's gone. Laban doesn't find out about it for about 3 days. A week's journey, and Laban catches up to him, obviously, because Jacob has his huge flock of animals that he has to carry. So it's slow rolling, kind of like a DMV line. And Laban is on a mission. So, of course, he's going to catch up to him. When God uses you to retrieve his property from the clutches of the enemy, don't think that the enemy's just going to let it go nicely. I mean, the enemy knows that he loses, and he still is fighting anyway. That kind of insolent daftness is, if he went after Jesus, he's definitely going to go after you. So Don't think you're just going to walk away from the darkness that you once were a part of and nothing's going to happen. The enemy may not come after you immediately. He's probably going to wait till you're weak and then hit you hard. Because that's what a lion would do. A lion doesn't go after the strong ones, and if he does, he goes after the strong ones when they're weak and vulnerable. Spiritually, it works exactly the same way. 17. Then Jacob rose and set his sons and his... let's see. 24. But God had come to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night and said to him, "Be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad." So God has given Laban a warning, saying, hey, be careful how you talk to my boy. Imagine hearing from God and he's like, hey, watch your mouth when you're talking to my boy. Mind your manners. You know, we hear something like that in the movies and you're like, uh-oh, it's about to get real right now. But you hear the God of the universe say something like that, hey, watch your mouth when you're talking to my boy. That's something. Be careful that you don't say anything good or bad to him. So Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent. Let me fix that real quick. Accidentally kicked it. Now Jacob has pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mountains of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, "What have you done, that you have stolen away unknown to me and carried away my daughters like captives, taken with the sword? Why did you flee away secretly and steal away from me and not tell me? For I might have sent you away with joy and songs, with timbrel and harp." Isn't that what an evil and deceptive person would say? Well, why did you have to go away secretly? Why couldn't you just tell me? Maybe we would have celebrated you leaving. Oh, but since you did it secretly, now we can't celebrate. That's exactly what a manipulative type person would say. "And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters." Now Laban is the victim here. "It is in my power to do you harm, but the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, 'Be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad.' And now you have surely gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?" Then Jacob answered and said to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I said, perhaps you would take your daughters from me by force. With whomever you find your gods, do not let them live. In the presence of our brethren, identify what I have of yours and take it with you." For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. Okay. Some people are afraid to let go of where they're from and go into the promise that God has for them. You can't take your old ways into the new land. You can't. You've got to completely get rid of and let go of all of your old self, all the old man, all the old woman, and that has to be done before you can go to the promised land. Before you can go to the new land flowing with milk and honey, as God calls it in Exodus when we get there. All right? Also, Jacob knows that Laban is not a trustworthy man. Laban is not a man of good standing. Laban is a man who will say what needs to be said in the moment, but probably doesn't have any intention on following through and keeping his word. And this is what Jacob is saying. Well, I couldn't tell you because I couldn't trust you. Maybe you forcefully rip everything away from me. What am I supposed to do? 31. 33. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, into Leah's tent, and into the two maids' tent, but he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent and into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the household idols, put them in the camel's saddle, and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but did not find them. And she said to her father, "Let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise before you, for the manner of woman is with me." And he searched, but did not find the household idols. And Jacob was angry and rebuked Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, "What is my trespass? What is my sin, that you have so hotly pursued me? Although you have searched all my things, what part of your household things have you found? Set it here before my brethren and your brethren, that these may judge between us both. These 20 years I have been with you. Your ewes and your female goats have not miscarried their young, and I have not eaten the rams of your flock. That which was torn by beast I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it. You required it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. There I was. In the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus I have been in your house 20 years. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night." Okay, so this is Jacob finally being like, "Hey, yo, you have pushed me far enough. I'm sick of it. I'm drawing a line right here. These are all the things I've done for you. This is how you've dealt with me deceitfully, and that's why you can't find anything. Why are you chasing me down? Chasing me down? Cool. Go get what you found and put it before us, just like we said. Where's it at? Huh? Where's the proof? Where?" Okay? So Jacob's mad right now, and rightfully so. The problem is, Jacob's wrong. Because his bride has deceived him. And she's sitting on them, hiding them. That's a hard situation to be in, man. There are a lot of people out there that will do something like this, and they'll hide it, and they will watch you put up a really good fight and a really great defense, knowing that they have the ability to manipulate you and humiliate you and prove you wrong at any moment's time. It's a setup. Some people will set you up. And as God's people, we are kind of apt to being set up. Because Jesus says we're like sheep. Sheep are not smart. They are not smart at all. Okay, so you want to be careful with having an emotionally charged response to somebody that has wronged you. You want to be careful, because you never know where a crucial bit of information is hiding that could change the whole situation. You don't want to be too proud of yourself to jump too quick to conclusions. Because Paul says in Philippians that or might be Corinthians, God has chosen the foolish things of the world to overthrow the wise. Okay? God has no problem with letting you go on a prideful rant and then using a small detail to make you look like a fool in front of the same people that you were so proudly looking down through your nose at. He has no problem doing that. Because God's people don't have any pride. They have humility. Because God's people are humble. And sometimes they need a reminder. Okay? 43. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, "These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and this flock is my flock. All that you see is mine. But what can I do this day to these my daughters, or to their children whom they have borne? Now therefore, come, let us make a covenant, you and I. Let it be a witness between you and me." I can't necessarily say for the culture, but it seems kind of odd to me that Laban thinks he still owns everything. He might. Again, I can't speak for the culture too much about this topic, but Laban and Jacob did agree on wages, and Jacob took off. You know, and this is another thing. I think the world does not understand the ways of God. And it says that in 1 John, I think. The world can't understand the ways of God. For what it says in the New Testament, I think Paul says it, what communion does light have with dark? Okay, communion, the idea of communion being how we take the communion, the bread and the wine, which is the body and the blood of Jesus, and we take communion in that very metaphorical way, right? Literally eating the two devices, the bread and the wine, but also symbolically we are spiritually connected to our Savior, okay? Heavy situation right there. So Paul is using that same dynamic to describe, well, how can light and dark have communion with each other? I mean, make it make sense. For light casts out darkness. You know, darkness doesn't overpower the light. I mean, if you want an example of that, go out into the middle of nowhere, into the middle of the forest, or the middle of a field, away from all electricity. Don't the stars shine brighter? Yeah, they do. So, the smallest amount of light will pierce through the thickest dark. That's the way God has made it. And you and I are light. We're the light. That's what we're called to be, salt and light. So, the world cannot understand how we rejoice when we are crushed, how we sing songs of praise and worship when we are hard pressed, how we encourage our brothers with songs and dancing and celebrations whenever the world is trying to tear us apart. The world doesn't understand it because most people, when the world tears them apart, they are depressed, they are distraught, they are angry, they are solemn, they feel sorrow, they feel grief. And we feel all these things too, because we're human. We feel these things too. But we don't sit in them, okay? Worldly people sit in it. and then they get angry and bitter and they get revenge. But godly people don't do that. Okay, so the world doesn't understand the way that we children of the Most High God work. It doesn't get it. The world doesn't get it. It like totally lost. Okay, so Jacob has been compliant with all of Laban's deceitfulness for 20 years. But Jacob has known it was deceitful. He just didn't do anything about it. So Laban is thinking, oh, Jacob's a punk. But Jacob is thinking, no, my God's with me. It's just not the right time for it to be known yet. Okay? So now, 20 years later, Jacob's like, I've had enough. I'm leaving, but I'm not going to tell Laban about it because I'm tired of it. Takes all of his wages and his family, and he takes off. Laban catches up to him. Now, Laban is here thinking that he can intimidate Jacob like he always has because Jacob is still a punk. But then he remembers, oh, yeah, that's right. God told me not to deal with you deceitfully. God told me not to say anything good or bad to you, to be neutral. That's the way the world does it. Okay? And that makes it very important for you to put your trust into God all the way. Because when you think of you being dangled out there like a distraction or what's the word I'm thinking of? Like a decoy, right? As bait, maybe. You could think of it that way a little bit. Fishing lure, okay, is probably the right way to think about it. You are out there in the sea of worldly fish like a fishing lure. It takes a whole lot of trust to believe that when the fish comes to start, that worldly fish comes to start nibbling on you, God's not going to let you die. God is using you to set his hook in them. And once he does, he just starts reeling them in. Just real slow. This is why you can't get revenge. And you can't break your godly character. And you can't become like them. That's how important this is. Because God is using you to reel them in. And man, I hope you're getting this. I hope you're getting this. Whoever you are watching this, I hope you're getting this image. Sharks don't feed on bigger fish. They feed on smaller fish. The problem is sharks don't always know the capabilities of these smaller fish, okay? And that's where God comes in, right? God knows you are nothing compared to the power that the world has. He knows it. He's using it. So he wants you to look what the world would call weak, pathetic, like a punk, like a pushover. He's counting on that a little bit so that the worldliness can come in and they can get a little bit of taste of it and see that the Lord is good. That's what he's counting on. That's how he's going to do it. Okay? At least in my life, that's how he's done it. So he's going to dangle you out there like a target, a fishing lure, to attract the lost fish that he intends to bring home. And he's using you to do it. That's why you have to stay in his word. You have to keep praying to him. You have to keep talking to him. And you have to keep that relationship going. You need to be in regular communion with him so that you don't lose your connection between God who threw you out into the water and where you're at. Because if you stop talking to him, that's like the fishing line breaking. And now that worldly fish has got you and you're done. But even then, okay? Jonah in the belly of the whale for 3 days. And the whale brings him right back to Joppa, where he started and he made the wrong decision in the first place. So even if you do forget who your Father is and you become like those worldly people who are pressing you and sweating you, God is still going to bring you right back to where you were at when you chose the wrong path. And he's going to say, all right, well, you chose the wrong way. How about we try it a different way? Let's not go that way again. Let's try something else. Even if you get lost, like the fishing line breaks and you're done, man, you could be on the other side of the world. God is still going to bring you back. You can never go too far. David says it in the Psalms. If I make my bed in the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I go to the farthest edges of the oceans and the seas, still you are there. Where can I go to escape your presence, O Lord? Where can I go? I can't get away. That's the safety net that we children of the Most High have. He's not letting go of us. And at the same time, it's kind of a burden because some of us like the idea of, I want to just go and hide and be away from everything. Because that's what worldly people do, okay? But God knows where we're at all times. He doesn't lose track of any of us, okay? So with a situation like this, it's very important that you don't abandon the godliness within you that has been cultivated within you to become like the world, because you are being used to draw them nigh to God, as the word puts it. But even if you do, God will use that to bring all of you back. It's a win-win no matter what you do. He just would rather you do it the right way, okay? 45. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Then Jacob said to his brethren, gather stones. And they took stones and they made a heap, and they ate there on the heap. Laban called it Jegur Sadutha, but Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore its name was called Gilead, also Mizpah. Because he said, may the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent from one another. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. Okay, so Jacob's like, cool. I know that God is with you, and I cannot overpower God. So we are going to agree on a compromise. If you do anything to hurt my daughters, the God that you serve is going to bring wrath upon you if you do anything deceitful to my flock, to my family. Because I know that God is with you, and I know that that God that you serve likes justice, because he just did it to me. If you become like me to them, God will do to you what he has done to me right here. Okay, that's what Laban is saying. Okay, Laban just got the point. Okay, 51. And Laban said to Jacob, here is this heap, and here is this pillar, which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not pass beyond this heap to you, and you will not pass beyond this heap and this pillar for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us." And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain and called his brethren to eat bread. And they ate bread, and they stayed all night on the mountain. Early in the morning, Laban arose, kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned to his place. Okay. There's a whole lot here. A whole lot here. And I'm not gonna hit on all of it. I'm gonna say a few things. Number one, be it for good, be it for bad, be it healthy or be it unhealthy, it's not easy for a father to let go. It may not be easy for a father to let go because he loves his kids. It may not be easy for a father to let go because he's using his kids. It still is hard for a father to let go, especially when he's had so much time with them, okay? It's important that you understand that the spiritual warfare that you may be aware of, you are not the one that is orchestrating the fight against evil. And the fight isn't even about you. The fight is towards God himself. It says right there in the Gospel of John chapter 1, "For he came into the world, and the world did not know him." He, being the creator of the world, came into his own that he made. And we were like, ew, who are you? Get out of here. We rejected him. He's our maker, and we rejected him. Okay? So the battle is not for you. God is going to save you and redeem you so that he can use you to fight the battle. That's the way it's going to work. And if you hide what God is doing, then you are hiding hope that someone else may need. Okay? So there does come times where God is not going to conquer the enemy today. Instead, God will have a truce with the enemy today. Because that's not really the plan. The plan, look at the way Jesus came into Jerusalem. He came in on the back of a donkey's colt, and he died on a cross after getting beat pretty hard. If that doesn't tell you that God's way of doing things is drastically different than the world's way of doing things, there's not much else that can. Okay, God is not looking to conquer the enemy because God knows this. I heard this from someone a long time ago. I'll never forget it. You catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. The world uses vinegar to win. God uses honey to win. That's why the promised land is flowing with milk and honey and not milk and vinegar. Okay? God is not going to defeat the demons right now because he's going to let them defeat themselves. Instead, God is going to try to get as many of his lost children back to him as he can. And you are part of his plan. There's only one plan. There's not a backup plan. There's only plan A. And plan A is people. If you don't want to do it, he'll let you go, fold your arms and pout to yourself. And he'll try to raise someone else up. But there's not a backup plan. If humanity doesn't want to do God's plan, he's not going to throw us out and get a whole new humanity. He's not going to do it. Okay? The rainbow is the symbol of him saying, I won't flood the earth and kill off all humanity again. Okay, I'm not going to do it again, right? So there's a lot in here. I think the main takeaway should be whatever situation God puts you in, just know He may not be working it for you specifically. He may be working it for someone else. But that someone else may be watching what you do to decide if the God that you claim is worth serving. Okay? Love you guys. We'll see you next time.